The two large tech businesses in the world that understand capital allocation well, according to me, are Amazon and Tencent. I don't think the others understand it, but I don't think they can execute. I'll explain why I say that.
Mo check. We are 50 out of the 60Ks into the Movember challenge. Just giving you a quick update, my legs are pretty sore. It's been a rough week. I'm not a runner, so it's definitely good to try and push these legs a bit. 60K might have been a bit light, might even push it out a bit more. I think it might even go 120 over the month. We'll see how we go. We're 50Ks in though. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, me and 11 other YouTubers are doing Movember, where we're all growing these moustaches for the month of November for awareness for men's mental health and also prostate and testicular cancer. But in today's video, we are going to be talking about Mohnish Pabrai's latest video, where it has a very good breakdown of Tencent. So that's what we're going to be looking at in just a minute. Before we crack into today's video though, just a big shout out and a big thank you to everyone that has supported me this far in Movember. As we can see, the Mo's just starting to come in, and I'm going to keep pushing forward with this running. It's good training. Definitely the legs are feeling it though, like I said there earlier. Easiest way to jump in and support if you wanted to put a pledge in is I'll leave a link in the description. You can just make a donation. It's pretty straightforward. Like I said, there's no pressure whatsoever. But the easiest way if you want to help out without actually making a donation is just like this video, share it with a friend, and even just watch any of the other videos on the channel as well, as all this AdSense revenue for this month is getting donated to Movember as well from my channel. Anyway guys, with that said, let's roll over and see what Mohnish has to say about Tencent.
So if you look at the balance sheets of these large 7 or 8 players, they are all drowning in cash, except for 2 companies. Tencent has no cash. It has net debt. And for the most part, Amazon has no cash. It may not be net debt, but basically has almost no cash. But if you look at their competitors, so if you look at Microsoft, massive dividends and buybacks and, tens of billions, I haven't even looked at how much cash Microsoft has, but I have to imagine it's, up there, 50, 100, 150 billion, whatever. Amazon, Apple up there, Google up there, Alibaba up there, massive amounts of cash. And Tencent, no cash. And Amazon, no cash. So then I said, why do Tencent and Amazon have no cash when they have businesses? Some businesses of Amazon are gushing a lot of cash. Well, the reason is that in the case of Amazon, they keep throwing stuff against the wall. And they throw stuff against the wall at such a furious rate, in addition to investing in their existing core businesses, that they've never been in a situation where there's 30 billion sitting on the balance sheet. It's never happened, and it's unlikely to happen in the future. If you look at a business like Apple, it generates so much cash, but they have no use for the cash. So they invest what they can in their core business. And then beyond that, the only really meaningful thing they're able to do is buy back shares. And even after all the buybacks, they still end up with, 100 plus billion just sitting on the balance sheet. And it's gushing massive amounts of cash every quarter. And then when I looked at Tencent, I find that the cash balance is negative, and it's been negative for a while. And I realized that basically Pony Ma has a very simple business model. And I don't think he's ever going to describe that business model to anyone. So here I am, the Indian guy has to describe the business model because he won't. Okay. And we had to do that in Arvind's class. So the business model is really simple. He has 2 businesses. One business that he has is his army of software engineers. I don't know how many engineers he has, maybe 25,000, maybe might be 50,000 now, but it's a large army of software engineers. And this army of software engineers, the way the software business works is that the productivity difference between an incredible engineer and just a good engineer could be 1,000 to 1. So you would be willing, as a company like Tencent, to even pay $50 million a year to a truly, truly incredible software engineer. And the run-of-the-mill ones, you might want to pay 100,000 or something like that. So there's we just have this massive variance. And Pony Ma understands that really well. And he's really good at sifting through, which are the rock stars, superstars. And he made sure that those guys are well taken care of, etc. So he's got this army of engineers. It's basically a massive bazooka that he has with this army of engineers. And he decides where and how he wants to fire the bazooka. And the way they fire the bazooka is, for the most part, even if they have some misses, they end up with this total dominance. So for example, they have total dominance on video games, okay? And I realized that it really doesn't matter what the CCP or the Chinese government does regarding video games. It is like a pimple on a camel's butt from Tencent perspective. They have almost no profits or revenues from within China in video games. It's probably less than 5% of their video game top line and bottom line that's coming from China. So as soon as the Chinese Communist Party started making noise that this is not such a great thing to have all these people playing all these video games, within a femtosecond, that bazooka got completely pointed outside China. So he just took his army and said, okay, ignore China, let's focus on the rest of the world. And in fact, I would go even a step further and say, you could ban video games globally and Tencent would still continue to prosper because they would still have the army and the army would just get redirected. Yes, there is a portion of the army is very specialized on video games, but they would eventually be able to convert that into something else. So he's got basically this army which can do a lot of digital stuff in a variety of fields, and they're really good at it. So when Tencent makes, like for example, they made $15 billion cash flow last year, Pony Ma goes to his digital army and says, what do you need? How many more engineers would you like? And the math is really simple. Every $1 billion you spend gets you at least 5,000 great engineers. So if you take an average engineer 200,000, 5,000 engineers would be $1 billion a year of expenditure. Okay, so they tell Pony Ma, Pony, give me $1 billion. So Pony says, yeah, that's okay. Here's your $1 billion, but that's not enough. Can you take $5 billion? And they say, no, we can't handle that. It's hard for us to hire 5,000 or 10,000 engineers. I cannot hire 25,000 great engineers. I don't know what I would do with them and how I would deploy them. So I cannot take more than $1 billion. So Pony says, it's so sad, but it's okay. Here's your $1 billion. Now Pony has 14 billion left. So then he goes to his business number 2. His business number 2 is he's got 30 digital Warren Buffetts. Okay. And he says, these losers in business number 1, they can't use my money. So here's 14 billion. Have fun. And then they go and they invest that in some of it will be whole acquisitions, but most of it is small minority stakes in a number of businesses. Okay. And that digital Warren Buffett, which is not one guy, maybe 20, 30 guys, put that 14, 15 billion to work. And just to make sure that all the money is used, Pony makes sure that they spend a little more than the cash he generates, because it bothers Tony. It doesn't bother Sundar that 70 billion earns less than 1%. And it doesn't bother Apple that 100 or 150 billion earns less than 1%. And it doesn't bother Satya that 80, 100, 150 billion earns less than 1%. It bothers Pony Ma. And so Pony Ma doesn't even leave $100,000 with himself. If he makes 15 billion, he spends 15.5 billion. because he wants to borrow at 1%. He doesn't want some checking or savings account giving him 1%. So he makes sure that when bazooka number 1 cannot use the money, he puts it into bazooka number 2. And once he's fired both those bazookas, he's got no money left and he's very happy. Okay, then the following year, maybe he makes 20 billion. Again, he goes to his bazooka number 1 and they say, Pony, you come to us every year and you want to force feed us 50,000 engineers. We can't do it. Okay, I can take 6,000 and that's it. I can't take any more. So he gives them the billion too. And then again, he goes to the other team and says, my loser team number 1 cannot use any more. You go to number 2. So now here's the economics for the last 20 years, which Pony Ma will never tell you. I have to tell you, the Indian guy in the wonderful blue kurta. Okay, model number 1, bazooka number 1, earns 65% annualized return on capital invested. Okay, day in and day out. Any billion he puts in historically has made 65% a year. Model number 2 makes 35% a year. What a terrible business. Okay, so he's just got these 2 models. One has been pounding out 65% a year, and the second one has been pounding out 35% a year. Okay, the DNA. So I told you there were only 2 companies, 2 large companies that knew how to do this with using all the cash. What Tencent does actually runs circles around Amazon, because Pony Ma is never going to hire a driver or a warehouse operator or some, freighter aircraft pilot and put them on his payroll. He's just not interested. He's only going to hire software engineers. Okay, that's what he wants to do. And so when some business needs drivers and warehouses and all that, Pony Ma is going to have a minority investment in that business through his bazooka number 2. So he has a stake in PDD and JD.com and Meituan and all these companies that do all this crazy heavy lifting. He still gets the upside on those, but they're not on his payroll.
Hopefully you guys got some value there from Mohnish Pabrai with some of his key highlights. I think he broke Tencent down into quite a simplified, easy to understand format. We're just going to have a quick look at some of the holdings within Tencent's portfolio. When you invest with Tencent, you're getting great diversification across their equity portfolio as well. So we're going to jump in and have a quick look over their top 10 holdings that Tencent has. So we can see here, I'm not familiar with the first company, Minxin Dongpeng, but there's a number of different companies within their portfolio. Top of the list, we've got, like I mentioned, Minxin Dongpeng, which is 20% ownership within the company. Then we've got C Limited, JD.com, Pinduoduo, Tesla, Epic Games, WeBank, Koisho, KE Holdings, and Snap. So this is the top 10 holdings within their portfolio. Look, I'm sure there's a few names there that you're a bit familiar with. Obviously Tesla, everyone's very familiar with Tesla. So when you invest into Tencent, you're getting good exposure to a lot of these other companies as well. And they have a lot of different companies within this portfolio as well. Anyway, let's finish up with having a look at what else Mohnish has to say about Tencent.
Jeff loves to have those people on his payroll. And I think it's somewhat inferior at the end of the day to... Now it gives you more of a link with the customer. The relationship is tighter and the service levels could be probably a bit better. But I would bet that given the superiority of the Tencent model, it would not surprise me that if we look 10 years or 15 years from now, that it's the most valuable business on the planet.
Hope you guys got some value from that. I know I definitely did. I think Mohnish has a fantastic way of breaking down quite complex companies into easy to understand format. Drop in the comments below what your biggest takeaway was from his most recent videos there. But with that said, if you're interested to make a donation to Movember, it would be very much appreciated. Like I said, I'll leave a link to that in the description below. No pressure whatsoever. Easiest way, like I said, to support the channel is just drop a like on the video, share it with a friend, and that way you'll also be supporting Movember as well, as all the AdSense revenue from my channel this month will be donated to Movember as well. Alright, with that said, we'll catch you in the next video. Till next time, cheers guys, see ya.